I'm always seeking the intimate moments with another person. I mean, I walk up to people and look them in the eyes and tell them, I think you look interesting. I would like to share something with you, or I would like to make a portrait of you. And some people react by running away. And some people do the opposite. They move closer. They keep looking you in the eyes. So my name is Jacob, and supposedly I'm a photographer. If I have to say myself, I'm many things. I'm a father, a husband, a fisherman, and a photographer, in that order. But I guess I'm also an artist, and that's the whole thing. That's the thing that connects everything, maybe, in my opinion. Because to me, being an artist is not about something specific, but it's more like a way of living. It's a universe. It's imagination, freedom. And for me, my family, my children, my wife, and fishing is exactly that. It goes with everything I did in my life. It's not in specific boxes, like all the work I did with photography. It has been part of my life somehow. I haven't been looking at something and taking pictures of it, but I've been living with someone or something or a specific place and been photographing it. So in many ways, I feel like I never sat down and invented something. I never sat down and said, I want to do this or that, and what should I do next? No, I just lived my life and I took pictures of it. If it was in Japan, or it was in Guatemala, or it was in Greeland, I was never there for the purpose of taking pictures. But the camera, the small pocket camera, became a part of me, and it became a tool that I used, that I carried with me. Never with the identity of being a photographer, but first of all, being Jacob, being human, and then having this tool with me, yes, that I used to, that I have been using to connect with people, with places, to create intimacy and to share with other people. In order to be able to share with the people you photograph, you have to give a lot of yourself as well. You have to put yourself at stake somehow. I want mutual trust. I want communication. And at the same time, I'm the one who's taking the pictures. So for many periods of my life and in many situations, I had to give up on it. But I keep being drawn back into it as well. So it's a love-hate relationship I have with photography or with the camera. Because I know that I can create beautiful things with it. But I also know that it can create a distance to life. We are working on an exhibition, my wife and I, and a box with pictures for this festival in Arles. And it's kind of Sarah's my wife's first major presentation of her work and our first exhibition together. And my pictures kind of start, my pictures are of my wife and my children. This is the first picture of Isaac, the day he was born. And look, he's smiling. I mean, he came out smiling. And the funny thing is that Isaac actually means the one that smiles. When I'm putting pictures together in a sequence or so on, what do I look for? It's a feeling, it's a stomach feeling, like so, or a gut feeling that some emotion evokes in you. You care about the picture. You either feel love or fear, anxiety or happiness or something. It has to evoke a strong emotion in you. I make pictures in black and white, high contrast. When I was in Greeland, where I did my first real work, it was in the winter time and it was very dark. So I started to use a flashlight there. And I think part of my style or my how should I call it, visual output or language started in Greeland from using this flash, which also created more contrast in the pictures. And then it has developed from there. One reason for using black and white is simply also because colors disturb me. If you have a lot of colors in a picture, you look, oh, okay, that plant is red, that piece of toy is yellow, and the grass is green. But that's not what I want to tell. Your eye will focus on these things without you really knowing it or doing it on purpose. But if I can delete all of that and create a direct path to your emotions, to your inner life, that is my ambition. So, what is my work about? I can be honest and say it's about life. I mean, it's about what we have in common. Many times when we look at pictures, it's about a specific place, it's about specific people, and that can sometimes create a distance because we come from different cultures or we live different lives. So we are pointing at, often we are curious or interested in things that are different from what we are ourselves. But I'm trying to do the opposite. I'm trying to connect with all the things we have in common. Why we are the same. A young couple in love in Copenhagen, they look the same as a young couple in love in Moscow or Beijing. And that's what my work is about. It's about connecting us as humans and seeing and feeling that we want the same things in life. We care about the same things. On the outside, we might look different, but what is inside, it's the same feelings, emotions, it's the same dreams we have. And that is what my work is pointing at. My family and I, we live in a small island in southern Denmark called Fejø. There's about 7 kilometers from south to north and from east to west. So it's tiny. And there's about 400 or 500 people here. I kind of like the island, the idea of an island. Again, it gives a stronger focus on where you are and what you want. I feel closer to nature. I mean, I always had the idea that I need to live a place where I can get to the water in a very short time and that I can catch fish for my family. I decided to go to Greenland. It's a good question because I have sometimes I have the same reply, but now I don't even know if it's the truth anymore. I mean, I'm not sure why I went to Greenland. What I know is that my father had just died. He had not just died, but he had died a few years before. But when it comes to a very traumatic experience, it takes years to find a way to move on, you know. And my father had given me this book from Greenland by a Greenlandic artist, Thomas Frederiksen, Grønlandske Dagbogsblade, which is about daily life in a settlement in Greenland. And it's very minimalistic and beautiful drawings and writing. And I kind of fell in love with this book and this what seemed like a simple life. And I decided to go and see for myself, what is this place? And basically I just went down to the harbor and spoke with the hunter I found there, if he could sail me to this settlement, Diderida, because I read about this place. And I knew that if I wanted to go to a place where the Inuits were still living as hunters, that it was not, there was no industry or so on. So he sailed me to the settlement, and then it all began. Diderida is a small settlement of, at that time, when I was living there, 150 people. And so everyone knows each other, obviously. It's like there's no street there. There's a walkway, bunch of houses, and a path you walk on, and a lot of dogs. Sabina I met playing ping pong in the fritidsklubbi, where the young people hang out in the settlement. I was drawn to Sabine because she expressed a lot of energy and love and curiosity. I fell in love. I lived with her family, and everything made sense to me. She was all the things that I was very much in my head, and she was the opposite. She was life, and that's what we always fall in love with, things that kind of are a bit different from how we are ourselves. So James' house made me feel like it was the center of the universe. It was like our whole life was stuffed into this house. You have all the children, you have all the stories, you have all the emotions that is part of being human. That's what I fell in love with James, or in Greenlandic, his name is James. This is James, the main character in the book James' House. And here we are out on the dog sled. We are on one of our trips together. We are going to a small lake to fish. And he's having his first cigarette. Yamis and we went fishing quite a lot, and sometimes it was in the lakes, in the mountain lakes, where we were catching trout through the ice. And it could be like, some hours on the dog sled, 3-4 hours sometimes less, sometimes more. And then we would fish for the day, and sometimes sleep in a tent. Or I think there's one picture here, yeah. where Yamis is sitting in front of his tent. But then you can fish from very early. When it was bigger fish, like I think it's called rockfish in English. It's a red fish. We were pulling that up from 400-500 meters down with nylon, with your hands. So again, there's no kind of industrial machines to do things and stuff. You do everything with your hands. I started to go hunting with Yamis, bringing home the food, experiencing how his children were hanging out of the window to watch him come home and leave, and all this connection of the children, the family sharing the food on the floor. It was a feeling of a community that I didn't feel existed anymore in Denmark or where I came from. It was something I was missing. I didn't even know I was missing it. But when I was together with them, I understood that this is what I miss. I miss being this close to life. I miss being united and being a part of a family. Of course, my family had been split by this accident, and this traumatic experience had so I felt that I found some kind of peace with this family. Not that things were quiet, and there was always dramas there, as there are. I mean, but it did give me the feeling that I didn't need other people. I didn't need other places. This was where life took place. So this is actually James' house, and for me also a very important picture in the book, because it is his house, and it's not very big, but there are a family in there of 10 people living, sleeping, eating. Just really amazing place on a small hill with a view of the fjord. And the feeling of all the life that takes place, I think, is also symbolized in this picture through like the light, this powerful light that comes from the window, that we feel there's something going on in there that is big. I also spent a lot of time fishing. And why do I do that? Because I want to bring home food. I don't fish because to get away from home, or to be with other people, or for social reasons. I fish because I can bring home food. So it actually means something to me if I catch something or not. This net is for flatfish. So it's the size of the net here that decides what you catch. It's definitely my years in Greenland that has given me this need of bringing home food. And the experience of sharing this food on a tray together with your 10 children or whatever is the family is a gift that I will never forget. I'm always alone when I fish. for safety reasons, it's not a very good idea. But mentally, for me, being with someone else, you relate to that person all the time. There's another person in the boat. Maybe we should talk about something, or maybe we shouldn't. Or is he catching anything? Or am I like when you are alone, it's you and the sea. It's you and this amazing power. They show you a power that you cannot imagine. So for every fish I take from the sea, I'm thankful. It's only when you are alone with nature that you can accept a lot of things for what they are. But yeah, alone, you also meet yourself in a different way. And that's the same feeling you have when you live closer to nature. You're also confronted with your inner self in a more intense way, because there's not so many things to disturb you. And again, that gives me a feeling of existing, of being alive. It's extremely beautiful. My project from Guatemala is some years after Greeland. When I came home from Greeland, I couldn't leave the place and I couldn't go back. And a way for me to deal with that was to look at my negatives every day. I was in a little shoebox with white walls. I was used to waking up and looking at the ice fjord and thinking about the weather and when to go hunting. I mean, it was crazy to go back to this kind of life in Denmark. So I stayed with Greeland. I kept on looking at the negatives for years and creating this book about Sabine. And then finally my brother said, hey, you need to get out of here. And he was doing a project in Guatemala. So I went with him to Guatemala. And what happened right away, I fell in love with the place. I can't control it. I mean, you cannot control this kind of emotions. A door had been opened that I couldn't just close and leave. So I stayed. And I'm walking in the mountains near a small village called Akchumval. And this 6-year-old girl, Maria, actually, she's on the wall behind you. She's carrying some wood, and she shows me her home. She decided to show me her home. She leads me to her home and her family, and they have 10 kids. And I'm like, this is it reminds so much of James' house, and I have to stay there. They make a bed for me out of some wood, and they say, okay, you stay here with Diego. Diego is sleeping beside you. and you can stay with us as long as you want. Again, I felt at home. I felt safe with this family. They started at 5 o'clock around the fireplace with chili and the coffee. It's very good. You get this chili and coffee rush in the morning, and then they go out to work on their piece of land. And again, I was in a dilemma. Do I take pictures or do I work on this piece of land with them and so on? And all the time, I end up being somewhere in the middle of that. But you are also the white man. And it annoys me. And I just have to realize, Jacob, you will always be the white man. You cannot live with the natives. It's pretty naive. I mean, I'm also 23. I'm 23, 24, 25, 26. And I want to live a different life. How do I get over that barrier of being the white man? I don't. But I live with it. But it's foolish to think that you can go live with the natives and be like them. But I did what I did because because I felt at home. But also what I mentioned before, that to make it authentic, I have to focus on things that we have in common. I'm always seeking the intimate moments with another person. I mean, I walk up to people and look them in the eyes and tell them, I think you look interesting. I would like to share something with you, or I would like to make a portrait of you. So I'm being honest from the beginning. I don't pretend to be anything I'm not, or that there are no deeper meaning in. I mean, I don't come with long explanations about what I'm doing. I try not to say much, not because I don't want to say anything, but because it's natural for me not to speak. I actually hate speaking because I love quietness, and that was another relief for me in Greenland, that it was okay to be quiet. It was actually seen as a good thing, and it brought me somehow closer to a lot of things. And this quietness for me is also part of meeting another person. I don't talk when I take pictures of another person. I don't explain things that cannot be explained, because I don't know why I'm taking the picture. I'm taking a picture because I feel attracted to you, or I feel connected to you, because I want to get to know you, because I want to share something with you. But I like to express that by looking at the other person's eyes, or looking in each other's eyes. And some people react by running away. It's okay. I mean, it's natural. And some people do the opposite. They move closer. They keep looking you in the eyes. Or there's also a physical connection that you don't have to speak to know that right now we are sharing something. But it only exists if both people are in a position or in a place where they are ready to share, or they want to share. lot of photographers are extroverts because they have to go out in the world and meet people and take pictures. But I would claim with any kind of, it's always dangerous to be a bit square-minded, as me. But sometimes it also helps for like the picture we have of the world. That for me, introverts are by far the most interesting people, or create the strongest images. Why? Because they have a lot of things inside that needs to be expressed, and it comes out this way. Those who yell the most or speak with the loudest voice, they are always seen and listened to and so on. But whereas for me, those people who take the strongest pictures, they don't have this need of being seen all the time. They are more humble. It's extremely important to be humble.